welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 13.11, and hopefully 13.12 as well, because even though it might seemingly have been a minimal patch for us junglers, it really wasn't. Ghostblade got nerfed, Duskblade got buffed, Ivern got mini reworked, and Rek'Sai also got mini reworked with those changes. And to make up for the fact that we no longer give buffs early to anybody because they don't really need it, rather making a buff sharing mechanism for laners once we have a fully upgraded smite. And we also had the hotfixes to Kindred before the patch. So we will go over the best junglers for every single MMR as well as for low and high elo. And with the season being split into two parts, it is time for another bootcamp. Myself and Virkayu will be joining forces with Gosu Academy once more, as well as Coach Kybit, to ensure that you have all the fundamentals you need that will outlast any meta and maybe even time itself. You'll see the topics on your screen now, a completely revamped curriculum specially to build on the previous bootcamps, and along with tickets for this bootcamp, we will give you all of the previous VODs to the previous bootcamp so that you can have all the fundamentals you need as a total package. And if you can't make the lessons, don't worry about it. It's a 2-week bootcamp. If you have work, school, there will be VODs available online for you as well. Teaching materials, exercises, classes, lectures, coaching, as well as a free course giveaway from my own personal site, Virkayu.gg. You'll be entered into a raffle and I will be giving away 10 of those courses. Click the link below to join the Gosu Academy Bootcamp on June 26th with myself and Coach Kybit, and I look forward to seeing all of you there. Now yes, they nerfed Ghostblade, but it was giga OP, and what happens when you nerf something that's giga OP? Well, it just becomes good, or normal, or maybe a little bit strong, or maybe a little bit weak. In this case, it's still fine. Great on Kha'Zix, great on Rengar, great on anyone who can really maximize the lethality it gives, and obviously can kind of stack it a lot quicker. With the nerf to those things and the removal of a little bit of haste, which really doesn't do much, the win rates have gone down on Kha'Zix. The buffs to Duskblade though means that win rate has gone up. You still have 3 choices. You can go Ghostblade, you can go Dusk, you can go Eclipse. This was exactly the same thing before 13.10 where you could go all of the lethality mythics anyway. So, I don't really see the point of this entire patch. It's really just silly. That being said, Kha'Zix got direct buffs himself before that a few patches ago, and thus he is still strong. He is the most picked, his ban rate is going up, and while he's not going to be yeeting you as fast, you're still going to pretty much die really quickly. I think people oftentimes overreact to nerfs and itemization, when in reality it's still going to be really good with the chosen champion. Regardless of how you choose to evolve Kha'Zix, he is still potent, fresh, juicy, but not quite as spicy in the discussion as his enemy Rengar. Even though people are like, oh no, Rengar is so easy. Yes, that's why a champion who was completely broken in high elo with Ghostblade had an over 2.5% win rate differential between Master Plus and the general population. You know who else has that frequently? Nidalee. You know why? Because they're both difficult. A lot of people just see Pussy Poo make funny meme tweets and then they go ahead and say, yes, I can do that, it's OP and easy. And then they do nothing. Rengar has historically been a champion that unless it's a main or one trick, you really don't need to fear it. This is still true. And with the Ghostblade nerfs, the win rate on that item is still good. Duskblade is looking even better from a statistical POV. So Rengar and Kha'Zix are still the top 2 junglers in the game at the moment, in my opinion, in terms of solo queue proficiency. There are better champions you can play in general, but these two, if you can pilot them, are absolutely monstrous for free LP. But again, if you can pilot them, and most people in Rengar, they cannot. That's because you have things like Jarvan. You can still play this champion. People don't talk about it because, again, he's boring as hell, his kit is simple, and while he's not one to go Ghostblade, you can do lethality tech with your Eclipse as usual. Obviously, the Gore Drinker build is a little bit boring, but it does allow you just sustain, trap them in the crater, you heal up. Really, it's not that difficult on Jarvan. Do you need to full clear? You can do that. Just track the enemy jungler, know which lane you want to gank or counter gank, start locking people down once you have 6, and win team fights with your really strong kit. While he rarely has those, hey, this is super OP, you need to play it, the champion is well-rounded, strong, perfect for Clash, perfect for Pro, perfect for solo queue. He provides all. Unlike Rek'Sai, who provided absolutely nothing for a while despite having a ganking meta, which says a lot about the champion. She is inherently tied to Prowler's Claw. They removed Prowler's Claw. Now, I made Rek'Sai on release and she's been in my pool ever since, so I want you to imagine trying to stick to a Zeri without Prowler's Claw. So Riot undid the Tremor Sense nerf they had years and years ago due to Pro Play, so now we can see more frequently when we're underground, but mostly they absolutely juiced that passive heal compared to what it was before. That maximum HP scaling means, and I predicted this in the Discord, that things like Black Cleaver and Sterix are going to be broken. Hey, guess what? Things like Black Cleaver and Sterix are broken. Slap in a Stride Breaker for your Mythic, and all of a sudden you have everything you need at 3 items to end the game. If you want to go beyond that, I honestly feel like you didn't do something right. But because of the buffs to the Q, reducing that cooldown, giving it scaling now, because basic attacks now refresh the buff duration of that Q. You have attack speed from the Stride Breaker. You have more reveal from your Burrowed Q, which gives vision. and you can actually sustain a lot better in fights when it comes to the passive. You obviously aren't going to be as useless later in the game. And because of that stride breaker, you do have that element of stickiness. So while we won't have as much lethality boom 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 damage, we do have a lot more HP boom 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 sustain, which means we can be a fighter a lot more, but also still do enough damage to kill people pretty quickly as well. She's really strong with that build, but you can still go Ghostblade and lethality to do the one-shot assassino things you've always dreamed of doing, or have not been doing because you couldn't play the champion. Next we have Kindred, who was really struggling with the removal of Kraken Slayer, the baseline of all their builds. So Riot said, hey, let's give you some more HP, a huge buff to your AD growth. Oh, and you know that E that's kind of like your max HP, execute kind of thing? Let's go ahead and buff that. So even though Stormrazor was broken and it has been nerfed a little bit, and of course they buffed the Trinity Force, where Kindred has always had build diversity, now we also have that plus mythic diversity. Yes, you can still go Gale Force. Yes, you can of course still do the Rageblade Kraken stuff, although that doesn't feel to be really that good. The thing that's really popping off is the Trinity Force Wits End Black Cleaver build. Slap in a Titanic Hydra and a Hurricane, and taking Pioshik's build from a few years ago, slapping it with modern tech, and there's very little you can't do in this particular case. Now obviously we do have our crit focus builds with the Infinity Edge, you have your Bloodthirster. There's a lot of ways to play this champion. Even years ago, the pretense was, hey, do you want to go on hit and attack speed really quickly? Do you want attack speed a little slower but have them hit really hard with crit? Or do you want to go lethality and kind of just snowball hardcore? Next, we have Fiddlesticks, the Eternal Sucker. And, you know, I don't understand why people say, oh yeah, I forgot about Fiddlesticks. How? This half-cyborg metal demon has been on the tier list ever since his rework. He is the one trick's dream. He is the one that Riot loves and will never let be bad win rate. He is the one that allows you to inflate yourself, even in Korean Halo. There are so many Korean one-tricks on this champion with huge amounts of build diversity. It's a little weird that when I make typical Rocket Belt Fiddlesticks videos, everyone's like, yeah, of course. And then I go ahead and make a Luden's Hex Flash one and everyone goes crazy, except you have people doing this in China and Korea all the time. We also have Teddy Six, one of the best Fiddlesticks players in Korea and thus the world, using Leandri's tech for a very long time. Long story short, farm, sequence, pick your level 6 spike, make sure you have mid-game positioning, have good vision control, pay attention to where they place their wards, choose your itemization of choice versus the comp you're playing, and as per your natural playstyle, and enjoy LP. Next we have Evelyn, who I've reduced by a few spots despite still being an absolute smurfdom champion, only because things like Rengar and Rek'Sai don't exactly make her smile. Yes, she has that seductive face and gets turned on when she creates the pain, but Rek'Sai's vision, tremor sense, knock-up, and sticking power, along with Rengar's ability to one-shot before she can even press R, and of course abuse her early, that means she's not able to do much against them, but she is still potent and very powerful. Much like Maokai, who's had a lot of build testing lately with the itemization rework from support position, going low econ builds, Abyssal Mask being absolutely goated as well. People are just going the Radiant Virtue by default. Essentially what he provides in this meta is so much peel, support, and engage. And you know why this is powerful? Because of the same reason I made this champion way back when in the original old days. When you have bot-focused metas with ADCs, you want to kill those ADCs as fast as possible. To do that, you need assassins. For ADCs to thrive and survive after you've ganked them, you need to be a tank that's able to peel said assassins. You following? So, Maokai allows you to snowball the bot lane, protect the bot lane, and ruin assassins' days. And as we shift onto the A tier page, nothing can ruin Gragas' days because 1, he's in an absolute perpetual state of inebriation, drinks way too much juice, and Riot seemingly have no issue with him being gargantuanly OP. And I have no idea why he's allowed to exist in this way, but he is. And he's strong, and you can go ahead and carry on. Next up we have Graves, who has a high play rate, but a lower win rate. Much like Kindred has that itemization diversity. Can you still use Ghostblade and go lethality squishy? Yes, but the Stormrazor build was the one that was goated for auto attack based gaming, and obviously a little bit more high skill cap that has thus been nerfed just a little bit. So keep an eye on the builds to see what people are going, but obviously once you get to, 2 or 3 items, whether you went for the Infinity Edge, the Ghostblade, or the Gale Force, the champion will still thrive. Still difficult to execute, and that's why you're seeing that win rate dip, but he is always good when he has 48 to 49% win rate. Next, we have Kayn, and people are saying, that's it, end of Ghostblade, time to play Duskblade. I mean, yeah, sure, you could. You can also still go Ghostblade. When you're playing Ross, you really don't care. Just go ahead and build Gore Drink and Black Cleaver and win games. The champion's win rate dips because people don't itemize properly. The champion's win rate dips because they don't get orbs and get formed fast enough. Understand what the forms want to do, choose the builds that resonate best and synergize best with how you play said forms, and make sure your orbification is on point. Kayn is still one of the best champions to learn, master, and climb no matter the meta. Hey, so guess what? Do you remember this Udyr video we did last year on how to play from behind when you have all the gold, your team are idiots, and the enemy team are up by like 5-10k, but you still win because you're Udyr and you win Trinity Force? Guess what? You can still do that. However, I'm not here to give you that spicy AD focused build. I'm here to tell you, listen, this champion is still one of the best in the jungle for simple sequencing, simple execution, objective control, counter jungling, shoving, pushing, and just all-round vibing to win. Go Demonics, go Jack Show, and enjoy yourself. If you want to have more 1v9 potential, yes, go the Trinity Force AD focus builds. Try the Ghostblade tech, but it's the one that's higher risk, more difficult to execute, and not the one I'm recommending for de facto LP gains. Following Udyr, Echo has dropped off just a little bit, but I do think he is extremely strong as well, especially from a 1v9 perspective. But where his difficulty comes in is not in the combos and the safety and all the things that people think makes Echo easy. It's your ability to predict, track, and counter-gank enemy junglers. That's where you truly thrive. If you watched the video I released 2 days ago on how to track to that level, you would have seen a Kayn react to the Echo forcing the issue instead of trying to play around the Kayn a little more, and obviously I deconstructed how you could have totally annihilated the Echo. If you're a Master Plus or Challenger, you would have done so. If you swapped the roles and put the Echo in the sort of tracking, counter-ganking, making the right play against the enemy jungler, he would have popped off in at 25 kills with 25 stacks of Mejais. Echo's still a master of time if Zilean wasn't. Next we have Karthus, because Lost Chapter was decreased in price. Yes, he is great. Yes, he is amazing. Yes, he's a flexway pick, and yes, as long as you farm and understand that, hey, this is not just a late game scaling champion. It's something where I can just full clear really quickly, invade and kill a fiddlesticks just like I showed on the gameplay channel, then you will have no issue executing to success. Much like Hecarim, who once more struggling a little bit with itemization identity, but that's usually a Hecarim main issue. Sequence, crab, gank, resequence, gank again, take a dragon, invade, take a herald, rotate to things that are happening. It's not difficult to pilot this champion. Lock down your itemization and understand the difference between a divine, trinity, and lethality-based gameplay. Understanding one's role with itemization with their champion is the biggest separator between those who actually know their champion and those who don't. If you have 1,000 games and you're still stuck in a certain MMR range with Hecarim, it's probably that. So I've put Ivan here because of the unknown, and of course people are not going to pilot him correctly, but he is a lot stronger than this position. I'm just going to put that caveat right here up front. That Q reset, 50% reduction on cooldown when you hit non-epic monsters. Excellent for map mobility. Brush is now ally on hit damage amplified with Ivern's AP. Ridiculous. Brushborn vision duration, 3 to 8 seconds. That shield spam that he has on his E trigger seed, yeah, if that detonates and hits nobody, or if the shield doesn't get broken, the duration of the shield gets renewed, so get ready to buy Serpent's Fang, it will give you value. And long story short, Daisy, if you thought she was annoying before, 10x that annoyance. Now let's shift on over to the low elo page. We have here Nocturne, Amumu, Ramus, Yarvin, Vi, Lilia, Warwick, and Kayn. Lilia, new skin coming up, looking pretty good in this MMR range. Warwick as always the Eternal in this MMR as well, likewise the Amumu and Rammus. But you'll notice the Nocturne has replaced the Master Yi as our sort of de facto on-hit pub stomper because, you know, ADCs are not going to pay attention to vision lines. Look, no one pays attention to vision lines. When you're Nocturne with that ult, freebies. You also farm fast, sequence fast, counter gank fast, give the darkness, spell shield crucial spells, and beat a lot of people 1v1 in the Fisting Olympics. Unlike Amumu who just got nerfed again. I mean, they buffed him, they nerfed him, we understand. Just leave him alone, stop trying to shoehorn him into jungle and Diamond Plus. And finally, the high elo page, obviously, Rengar Kha'Zix, you've got the Nidalee. Graves is great, but his win rate here upsets me a little bit. I know he's fine, he's amazing in this MMR range, the pick rate is great, it's just that I'm not seeing the performance necessary that makes me comfortable putting him up here when you have strategic ways to play the game against him. Elveth is also looking a lot better at high elo along with Lee Sin. I'm putting Lee Sin here as a little bit of a meme because he is obviously struggling overall, but his win rate actually hit 50% in high elo plus in the early stages of the patch, so I just wanted to bring light to those Lee Sin blind monk gamers that yes, you can go Eclipse and Smurf, you can also go Gore Drinker and just win. Likewise, Rek'Sai and Kindred are always going to be amazing here. You have things like Karthus, you have things like the Echo that will always have a presence in high elo. These are just the ones that I'm seeing the most in terms of play rate, ban rate, and presence when I'm doing VOD scouting in this early stage of the patch. Keep an eye on high elo, this might shift a little bit as we go further deep, especially if I leave this tier list up for 2 patches. But overall, you will have a lot of fun with these champions, and if you're playing any of the other ones, you can climb to Master Plus and still keep using them. That'll do it for this best junglers, and if you want to understand how to track like a challenger jungler and how they're able to predict every move when you face them on Smurfs, click the video in the box in the top right.